Hey all, Erin Zenwari here. Quick reminder, 5 days of play challenge, challenge.playyourway.life to register. And make sure I've added you to the Facebook group as well. It's 5 days of play challenge for free, so that's just a quick reminder, and it's 15 minutes a day as a challenge, and you get to be part of a supportive network. I'm going to give you free videos. It's going to be awesome. But meanwhile, I am jumping on today. Yesterday I talked about food consciousness and just being a bit more aware when we eat. It doesn't necessarily mean you don't go through the patterns of even overeating, but it is about bringing an observance and awareness to it so that you can then, through consciousness, bring choice. Then last night I was in the fabulous Tom Dorman's online I want to say like seminar that he did, and he was talking about the different stresses of the body. And one of the things that he brought up, and it reminded me because it's kind of along these lines, is about like what we eat. And in this particular instance, something that came up that has really been something I wanted to encourage my people in my corner to be doing, and I want to encourage all of you to do as well, is to eat organic. You do not have to eat everything organic to eat cleaner. You just have to eat more organic. What you need to be aware of, though, with everything that you eat inorganically, is that not everything is created equal. So some things are worse for you than others. For example, one of the big things people love to eat is kale. Well, actually, eating inorganic kale is like eating a bomb of glyphosate, and that bomb of glyphosate is going to have a good go at your 1 cell thick stomach lining. So something I deal with a lot because I deal with chronic disease. So I'm a holistic practitioner and I deal with food and movement and mind stress, mental stress, etc. And how to manage those things and how to manage them without being like a complete orthorexic geek that's always submerged and trying to be healthy 100% of the time. You know, life is for living. Is making people more and more aware of the things that they can get away with and the things that they can't. One of the things you can get away with, for example, is you can get away with an inorganic avocado. You may still want to go organic because avocados use so much water, which means when they're in a sprayed environment, they're still pulling the spray through the earth. Though when they've tested avocados overseas in America, they have found them to be basically completely absent of glyphosate. So when you're actually eating that flesh, at least the glyphosate is not showing up. The other thing that I do is I deal with a lot of chronic disease, and chronic disease in every case shows a flared stomach problem. And it's so easy to flare your stomach. So you can have chronic diseases of the stomach, colitis and Crohn's, for example. Then you can have what would still be considered a chronic disease, was a little bit more mild, is like IBS, so irritable bowel syndrome. And then you can have something that's just sort of a weird little irritation, like leaky gut syndrome. The problem with leaky gut syndrome is you don't get as many symptoms as you would with the other ones. And so people don't really know what's happening. One of the symptoms you might get from leaky gut syndrome is being more angry than usual. And this is because with leaky gut syndrome, what happens is food particles basically slip through the gut lining into the bloodstream where the holes are, and then once they're in the bloodstream they have to be filtered by the liver. And so because the liver has no idea what to do with food particles because they're not meant to go that way, it upsets the liver. And the liver is actually, basically you become grumpy because your liver is grumpy. And your liver is very much in a holistic sense connected to your anger and your ego. So if we take that back a step, if I'm eating things that perforate my gut lining and create leaky gut syndrome, like glyphosate-rich foods like kale, for example, because it's inorganic, then that's something that I might want to choose against. Now, if we go out for dinner, choosing to eat organic is not so easy. So that's where you want to do stuff to counteract I went out for dinner, because life is for living. But when I'm at home, do I eat inorganic greens? I certainly don't eat the dirty dozen inorganic. So apples, kale, berries, organic. I'm eating the flesh of those. They're highly sprayed crops. Silver beets, things like that, organic. organic as much as I can. If I'm buying lettuce, I do my damnedest to buy it organic. Or I certainly go looking for the things that are organic that I might replace lettuce with, like microgreens or grated carrot and, you know, grated celery and stuff like that to make my salads instead of just using lettuce leaves. So if you haven't seen my Dirty Dozen lists and you want to see those, just send me a quick private message and I'm going to send you the Dirty Dozen lists and also the clean lists as well. So the things that are better eaten organic or best eaten organic, and then the things that it kind of doesn't matter so much. For example, thick skinned things like avocados and pumpkins are in a much safer zone for eating inorganic. I will say this though, anything I put on my skin to some extent gets absorbed into my skin. And glyphosate is only one of what is now 5 chemicals that go into pesticides and herbicides. So there are other things that are now getting absorbed, and we haven't, Bayer introduced 2 more chemicals to that, and we haven't yet fully worked out what the impact of those are on our environment or on ourselves. I think it's fair to say that the assumption is it's probably not great. So where we can, eat as organic as possible. I do get that it's expensive. The great thing here in New Zealand is that if you're buying greens, 3 for $10 at the local organic store here in Wellington, which is great. So thank you very much. A bit of a nod to common sense there. If you guys have any questions or you want to like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, please do. Don't forget that challenge, challenge.playyourway.life to register, and make sure that I put you into the group as well. Thanks very much. Catch you soon.